Hey folks, happy Thursday to you. Thursday, January 14th. We continue our pastor's devotional using the January prayer calendar. You can get it online every morning, Facebook, church's Facebook page. You can go to our website, fumccv.org. Pick it up at any of our social distance events. Pick it up in the church office lobby, or you can get it in if you get the mailed version of the Pathway. Lots of ways to get it. Every day there's scriptures. We read those scriptures, and the encouragement is that we write them down. So when we get done with this devotional, what I encourage you to do is grab out your journal, write the scriptures down. Today's scriptures, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11 through 15. I know it says 18 there, but we're going to stop at 15 because tomorrow is 16, 17, 18. So rather than doubling up. So 1 Thessalonians, way back in your New Testament, almost to the end, maybe, I don't know, 100 pages or so, or a little less than that, 50 pages before the end. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 11 through 15. Let's read that. Therefore, encourage one another and build up each other, as indeed you are doing. But we appeal to you, brothers and sisters, to respect those who labor among you and have charge of you in the Lord and admonish you. Esteem them very high in love because of their work. Be at peace among yourselves, and we urge you, beloved, to admonish the idlers, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with them all. See that none of you repays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to all. What a passage. And I got to tell you, what a passage, especially given the events of today. I'm recording this Wednesday afternoon. The House of Representatives just voted to impeach President Trump, so the only president to be impeached twice. And no matter where you are on the political spectrum, no matter if you think that's a good idea or a bad idea, or whether you think that he's at fault for inciting the crowd and the riots or not, and or wherever you are, what's clear is that our political system is broken in so many ways, and the two sides have divided from one another and are so entrenched in their own truth, and at the same time demonizing anyone who believes other than them. It's just heartbreaking to watch. And then this passage comes up. Now notice in this passage, so in verse 14, we urge you, beloved, to admonish the idlers, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with all of them. What was happening here is that there were people in Thessalonia, in the church, and Thessalonia is one of the first churches, maybe the first, that Paul started, very early in the Christian movement. And quite frankly, during a time in the Christian movement in which they thought Jesus was coming back like next Wednesday, like next week sometime, Jesus is going to be back. And so it's sort of like, hang on to the faith. You've got like a week to go. You've got 2 weeks to go. And what was happening is that next Wednesday came, and the Wednesday after that, and the week after that, and people began to question who Jesus was. They began to question the resurrection. They began to question whether and how long they could keep up the faith. And so they began to fall away. They became idle. They became faint-hearted. They became weak. And so the leaders were writing to Paul to say, what do we do with these people? And make no mistake about it, nowhere in here does Paul say you cast out the people who are different than you. You cast out the people who are not working as hard as you. You cast out the people who are on the opposite side of the argument from you. Never. It's always to draw them together, to draw all of us together. And then verse 15, see that none of you repays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to all. Always seek to do good. And so when we for me, when I stand amidst this political atmosphere, right, I understand the scriptures are talking to me as a Christian. The scriptures are talking to us as a church, as a spiritual community. The scriptures are talking to us as Christian people worldwide. And the scriptures aren't necessarily written so as to talk to the United States government officials, right? And so I always think about scriptures like how can it apply to my life personally? How can it apply to the church community that I'm a part of, that I'm leading at the time? And how can we use these principles to lend themselves to a better public life? Not saying that everyone has to follow Christianity and everyone has to believe in the Messiah. Certainly not everyone has to believe in the Messiah to admonish the idlers, encourage the faint-hearted, to help the weak, to always do good to all. And so I'm just very aware that as we read the scriptures this morning, that it's like a two-edged sword, that part of it cuts into our lives and part of it cuts into the world around us and the kingdom that God desires that we build. And so even on these hard days, we see God speaking very clearly to us. Imagine how different our world would be if those in power and if political leaders admonished idlers, encouraged the faint-hearted, helped the weak, never repaid evil for evil, and always did good to one another and to all. Our world would be very different. So my prayer today is that these words would sink deeply into my life, but my prayer today also is that these words might have a way of finding themselves into the public discourse and difficulty that we find ourselves amidst today. God bless. Have a great day.